everybody, this is James.
Marco.
Nabil.
And Mikey.
And this is podcast number 163 of the Movie Pals podcast. Today we are doing a double feature. It is probably slightly different from what we announced last time at the end of episode 162, our Hunger Game Marathon. We had briefly talked about that we were going to be doing Napoleon and Godzilla Minus One. A few of us did see Napoleon, so we are going to go over that, but we did do a bit of a pivot here. We'll talk about that more when we get to it, but we are actually going to be doing a review of the film Saltburn and Godzilla Minus One. So we're still doing Godzilla, we just changed up one of them, so don't be mad. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into I guess it's just a brief thought on the film Napoleon.
General, we are discovered. Good.
Wait! Guys! It's a trap! Retreat!
I'm not built like other men.
So Marco did not see Napoleon, so he's not going to be able to talk on this one. But Mikey and I went and saw Napoleon with Mikey's brother-in-law. Nabil, I know you saw Napoleon. I'm just going to jump right into it. There's no real spoilers we're going to talk about. In the film in general, I thought the film was okay. I didn't think like it did enough. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's my feeling exactly. Yeah.
Okay,
that's
cool.
Why we didn't do it, right?
Yeah, I remember leaving the theater and I looked at Mikey and I was like, I'm not sure there's enough to talk about in this fucking, like the night that we saw this fucking, like the day we saw this like an early screening. It was a day after the last pod actually. So, and even then I was like, I don't know if there's enough to talk about in this movie. Like
performances were decent and there is stuff to like. I thought the battle scenes were shot well, but like there's not real like content to discuss. Like things happened. Then the next things happen.
That's it. And then more things happen.
Yeah, it's done.
What were you saying, Nabil?
I feel like there's not a lot for this film. This film doesn't say anything. You know, like there's
not at all. Yeah,
there's a story, like, I guess, okay. But then it like Mikey said, it's well shot. It's Ridley Scott. You know, the battle scenes are great, but they're just like. Even now, I'm trying to think of specific key things to highlight. And like,
it's a super forgettable movie.
Was like, yeah, he was in Egypt, and there was a little standoff between him and a mummy. I thought was kind of funny, but that's all that's really sticking to my mind right now. You know? So
yeah, I mean, there's like, it's insane. Not a single person is fucking like trying to French accent in this movie too. By the way, I like how Ridley Scott was just like, British, just fucking talk. It's fine. Not a one. Even though other people say, "Well,
I actually wouldn't be okay with that. Like on a normal basis, like I would just regular people just talk and not have like.
If anyone can do it, Joaquin Phoenix can pull a fucking French accent off, though. So I'm like,
he probably could have. Yeah.
Yeah, I gave him.
But I mean, hey, it's like it was really long too. It was like, fuck, man, 2 hours, 35 minutes, I think, and I think It wasn't to the point where the pacing felt bad for me though, but it kind of scares me that the Apple TV Plus is gonna stream in like a month or two apparently, and they're gonna get a 4-hour cut of the movie. And I mean, I'm gonna tell you right now, there's no fucking way I'm gonna watch that.
Or Michael can finally watch it there and then tell us how it is. He'll give us a recap.
Both versions will be on there, and I can, unless somebody reviews the 4-hour cut and is gonna be like, this is the definitive version, like. I can't ever see myself ever watching this movie again, if that makes sense.
Honestly, though, like maybe with the extra time, they would have the content that we would normally talk about. Like for me, a lot of the time jumps, they just happen in weird places. Like they would talk about an event and then they would just jump to that event. Like, hey, you should become king. Oh, he's king. Like maybe there's more dialogue and stuff that happened, right?
There's jumps where they're like, it's been 5 years, and I was like, it was 5 years. I was like, what the hell? I was like, dude, everyone looks the fucking same. No aging in this film, by the way. I don't think he looked different from the moment we see him to apparently 40 years later. And I was like, he looks the same, but okay, sure. He just has like stubble now, I guess. I don't really. I was like,
I never even thought about that part. He looks
it's literally 40 years
movie.
in the entire movie, but I was like, maybe he aged 5 years.
I mean, he did die relatively young, and it was all in a span of 30 years. But Yeah, there should have been some. I mean, Joaquin Phoenix playing a 20-year-old versus playing a 50-something-year-old.
Yeah, I was like
exactly the same.
Yeah, I was like, oh, his hair is kind of longer in the beginning. That's
right,
just, and it's like disgruntled looking. I was like, I guess that's it. But yeah, so any other closing thoughts, Mikey DeMille? I mean, that's all we.
No.
This is literally about all I would have said, even on the review. So like, I'm like, there's just not enough. Like, I don't feel like there's even a real direct. I mean, was the message that he just killed a shit ton of like his own people in the process too, and then they kind of just throw that down your neck?
I will say, I know there was a lot of controversy, especially like in France, about the historical accuracy and the portrayal of him.
Apparently, it's pretty off from what I've heard. I'm not too familiar with it myself. So,
but I will tell you at the same time, it's been a while since I've read up on Napoleon, so I tried to go on a deep dive to recollect some of the history. And there's also not a lot out there about him. Like, he's done what the beats that they do touch on, though it's not necessarily 100% accurate. Those are kind of what happens, like from a broad standpoint. He goes.
I love how the director Ridley Scott just doesn't give a fuck.
He doesn't care. Yeah,
in all his interviews, he's literally even said like, "I don't give a fuck." The French don't even like themselves or something. And
and he's not wrong. So
okay.
Also, didn't they write the whole thing based off his letters they found, right? So they might not be any details between there to even know what happened. So that's probably
is a lot of like the films that they've had in the past of Napoleon are based off of the letters. That's where a lot of the insight came from. So there really isn't a lot to talk about, anyways. But even with the film, I don't know if he was. I will say one thing is that I did like Joaquin Phoenix in this. He was enjoyable to watch. So.
It worked for the role itself, but I just want a little more, if that makes sense. Maybe like you said, maybe the 4-hour cut. I don't know if I'm, like I said, someone had to blow their mind away and be like, it's the best movie ever. And then, because I have no time to watch a 4-hour film at this point, so I'm like, maybe, I guess. I don't know.
I'll let you know. I'll watch it probably.
Fuck, man. I mean, in theaters though, it was not bad. By the way, we watched in IMAX too. By the way, the sound was pretty good. I'll say that much. It actually sounded good. I was like, oh, cool. But yeah, overall, that's Napoleon. So,
all right, and on to our review of Saltburn.
Did you know there was a college Christmas party tonight? NFI, me and you, not fucking invited. You all right?
Yeah, I've got a flat tire.
Take my bike.
Hey, that is so kind. Thank you. I'm sorry I don't know your name. I'm Felix.
Oliver.
Oliver. Oliver, I love you. I love you. All right, cheers, Ollie.
My parents, they've got problems.
What kind of? What do you mean, problems?
I don't think I'll ever go home again.
Well, why don't you come home with me? Come to Saltburn.
Mr. Quick.
Wow.
And here he is now.
Oh, what beautiful eyes. Oh, how wonderful.
Yeah, I told you it wasn't a minger.
Oh, but darling, you're kind about everyone. You can't be trusted.
I had them hang up an old school dinner jacket. We dressed for dinner here.
Dressed for dinner?
Yeah, it's like black tie.
Saltburn is currently sitting with a 70% Rotten Tomato score. It's about a student at Oxford University who finds himself drawn into the world of a charming and aristocratic classmate who invites him to his eccentric family's sprawling estate for a summer never to be forgotten. This is directed and written by Emerald Fennell, who also did A Promising Young Woman back in 2020, and it's based on the book by David Gran. This film was released on November 17th in theaters, and is starring Barry Kagan as Oliver Quick, Jacob Elordi as Felix Catton, Rosamund Pike as Lady Elspeth Catton, Richard E. Grant as Sir James Catton, Alison Oliver as Venetia Catton, Archie Madekwe as Farley Start, Carey Mulligan as Poor Dear Pamela, and Paul Rice as Duncan. So, James, we're going to start with you. What were your thoughts on the film? Did you like it? Was it kind of weird? Did you not like it? So many open-ended questions.
There's a lot to this movie, and I think this is one of those movies that I came in pretty low expectations. I mean, I thought Promising Young Woman was an okay film. It came out during COVID, so it was like a weird fucking time, you know? I just always remember that one when that one came out. And
with a weird ending.
Yeah. So Emerald Fennell, I think she does really unique films, and it's cool that this movie even exists, I guess, at this point, because it's a really different movie from what I thought, and it has a lot going on. And I had a mix of emotions while watching it, and most of the times I just felt like this just related to Marco somehow, like the entire movie.
Wait, who was Marco in this film, though?
I don't know. There's a scene where he's taking a little sip in the bathtub. I was like, going to Jesus. I was like, and then there's a dancing scene at the end. I was like, either me or Marco. Could be either one at the point.
I had James vibes right there.
I was like, if this was a vehicle, this would be a James vehicle too. So the bike with the wheel, the hole in the wheel, that's the James vehicle. So, but getting back to the film without getting into it all yet, I actually really liked this movie quite a bit. I think it's beautifully shot. I think the story's really unique. There's a cool twist to it all too, and there's a lot of meaning behind a lot of what goes on too. So, and I think some amazing performances. So,
how about you, Marco? What did you think about this movie?
This movie was fucking wild, but enjoyable. I had no idea that Emerald Fennell did Promising Young Woman, but I can see the similar style. And similar to James, there's a scene that I was just like, man, this is Jimmy all the way. He's smoking. Barry Keoghan's Oliver Quake is standing outside smoking a cigarette, just dead staring into a window. And I was like, my boy. I'm like angry staring.
Dude, I was like, my boy that at one point. Just staring. Son of a bitch.
Just fucking heavy breathing. And
I thought it was the scene where he's just like, I'm a vampire. And I was like,
I was like, oh my fucking God, that's BDJ all the way right there. And of course, there's a very infamous ending scene that I was like, man, how high you got to be to do that. But overall, it's interesting story, like James said. You know, there's a great twist. There's this sinister feeling throughout the whole movie that things aren't as they seem, which I like, and there's subtle clues that are there that when the twist finally happens, you're like, oh shit. And yeah, at times it is very upfront about it, and if you're paying attention, it's very easy to kind of deduce what's going on. It's not perfect, however. There's one scene where it's really more of like a montage that I think it could have done without. Really, like the movie does a good job at not really holding your hand throughout the entire plot up until this one scene, and it's like probably shouldn't have included that in there, but I'll say more in spoilers. But overall, I liked it. I actually would definitely watch it again. Again, it's an interesting story, very similar to a few other films. Like I kept thinking Talented Mr. Ripley for some reason.
A little bit, yeah. I got that too.
So it really brought that to mind, and I enjoyed that movie too when I saw it back then. So
sorry, just Marco can't stop bringing up Philip Seymour Hoffman in the last 3 weeks for some reason.
Oh, memories.
Just wants to always bring them up. So
have to.
How about yourself, Mikey? Were you feeling this film like the other guys here?
Actually, yeah. I went in fairly blind. I only read basically what you read about the movie earlier, so I really didn't know what to expect for the movie. Although I had heard some stuff about it, like that it was going to be kind of strange and that kind of stuff. So I was kind of prepared for something weird. But this kind of goes a little beyond what I was expecting to be, how weird it was going to be. But yeah, I really did enjoy it though. The way it's like kind of progresses through the story, and kind of the character kind of adapts to the situations that come up. I enjoyed the performances. I thought they were good. So yeah, I actually really enjoyed this one.
Mikey told me that he's had the song at the end on playback nonstop.
Yeah,
it's a good song.
We live in that magical moment.
Yeah, Murder on the Dance Floor. It's a great song.
Sophia Baxter, great. Yeah, I agree with you guys. It was a surprise of what happened throughout this film and near the end. And I when I saw the trailer, I wasn't sure if I really wanted to see this film because it was not what this film ended up being. And I was like, I don't know if this is a film I really want to watch right now. About a coming of age story is how they were kind of pitching it, and they were showing it as like there might be some kind of love interest going on here. And I was like, I might watch it. I might not. I don't know if I need to, but I'm glad I did because it turned out being something completely different, and it had. I guess Emerald Fennell she has a style now because Promising Young Women had that kind of weird twist ending, and this one definitely had the same kind of weird ending that you don't quite know is going to happen yet, and then at a certain point you're like, oh, now they're just letting it all out for you to see how crazy this shit can really get. So yeah, it was fun. And like kind of James was saying, it's nice that this film was able to be made. Like it felt original. It was different than what we usually are seeing in the theaters, and it was just kind of almost a breath of fresh air to just experience a whole new film in the theaters that you don't necessarily get a chance to always see. So
did you see that Margot Robbie was one of the producers? I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, I did. I noticed that as well. I was like, good for her. Production company's making some money.
Yeah, that's cool.
Awesome.
Yeah. All right. So we kind of hinted at a few scenes here. I know we don't want to spoil too much, but I'm going to just jump to you, Marco. Were there any scenes that kind of stood out to you, or did you have anything specifically about the film that kind of that you felt like stood out to you more than anything else? And I was made.
As far as scenes that stood out, there it was just the very detailed, obscure scenes that were portrayed in the movie that just kind of showed you Oliver Quick's sort of mental state and really peeling off the layers of who he really was throughout the whole movie, because he comes off and by the way, Barry Keoghan, man, very talented, talented actor. Good. The whole time I was like, Joker, what the fuck are you doing? But anyway, I'll only say that much about an actor because I seem to jinx actors, so I'm not going to say any more than that. But he comes off, Oliver Quick comes off as this very timid, shy person that's sort of not really open to meeting people. He's very he's not social. He's not very good at meeting new friends, and you start to see with the scenes that are shocking. And we mentioned one is he literally drinks the bathwater of Felix Catton, and it's quite shocking. It's like, Jesus, he's really doing that, and it just kind of shows there's more than this guy Oliver Quick than what's being shown. And then he
little hints, I think, and then eventually he's like, oh wow, he's really taking it to another level here. Like,
there's a scene involving blood too that I think I'll just mention in spoilers. That's also quite shocking. But those are really the reason they kind of stand out is just because it's just out of left field. All of a sudden he's doing these things, and you start to notice that he's actually quite a manipulative person than what he seems to be. So,
and it's very visually striking too. Like seeing that on screen, I think is very well shot.
It's a total, a total like contrast to the beginning of the film, where you see it as the story of this guy, who's got a crush, and he's trying to be part of a clique and experience college. And so for those scenes to really pop out, I think it was a very well done job.
Yeah. And Mikey, how about you? Was there anything on the movie that the way it was presented that really stood out to you, or was there a scene that really stuck with you?
Yeah, I mean, I like that he narrated the film too, because you can kind of tell he's talking to somebody. And I had my idea of like who he was talking to, and I'm sure we'll get that in spoilers. But it kind of built over time, and the kind of reveal or the twist kind of, in my opinion, kind of shocked me a little bit. I didn't realize that's who he was talking to, so that was kind of cool. Right. As far as scenes go, but when Marco kind of hit it, was like he has these like one-on-one scenes with each of the Catton family, and all of them are pretty good, like in a very obscure way. So, but he's talking to Venetia in the bathtub. I think that one is the one that kind of stood out to me. She did a really good job, like kind of a speech almost, a monologue. And just the interaction between the two, that scene was really good, in my opinion. So, and again, we can't talk about a lot of the stuff here because spoiler stuff, but I'm sure we'll get to it at some point.
Well, let me, we're talking a little bit about the characters here. Let me go to you, James, then. What were your thoughts on some of the, since we can't really go too much into the scene specifically, on some of the characters like Oliver Quick? Like, or even Felix in this example, since he's kind of the secondary here. How do you think that these characters were portrayed on the screen, or what you?
I think it's great, man. Barry Keoghan's killing it. Jacob Elordi's killing it. He's also really good in Priscilla. As much as I didn't really care for the film itself, I think he's great as Elvis in that one too. He's coming off of this fame from Euphoria. I think he's fucking great, man. Barry Keoghan is killing it too, like I said. So it's like,
agreed.
Oliver Quick is he's just a complex character. He comes off, he's very manipulative, but he has like an obsession with Felix because Felix kind of represents what he wants to be and like the things that he's always wished for. But because of his, of how his life is, he's unfortunate. Because Felix is rich as fuck. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. He's Lord.
Dude, literally, his dad's knighted and shit. So like they come from a family that is like been wealthy their entire life. They don't need to.
Nobody works.
Do a lot of the shit they do. Yeah, nobody. They just chill all day, dude. They're watching fucking movies. It's kind of funny. It takes place, I think, in like 2006, 2007, something like that. And I was like, random, right? What a good time though. And I think they do great. It's just like this. It's like an obsession. There's maybe even like a sexual tension between Oliver and Felix. Like, obviously, I think it's only one sided. Really, I think it's more like Oliver is really into Felix, but I think that's more of him just like the want and the lust of being in that kind of dream scenario, I guess, is what I'm trying to get at. Like, he's out there for the summer. He's told him that, hey, his fucking mom's dead, or his dad OD'd or some shit, and he's ignoring his mom because she's an alcoholic. And it's just all these little things on top of things. And then he feels welcomed by Rosamund Pike character, which I thought was really well done too. I think she's a great actress on top of that. And it's like, and like Mikey's saying, they even bring it up, like Venetia's telling him like, hey, this is, or is it Venetia or is Farley? One of us telling like, yeah, to you, this is like the best day of your life, or like a dream. For us, this is just life. We do this every day.
Farley.
That's Farley. Yeah.
Which is funny. He's the guy from fucking Gran Turismo. So I was like, oh my God, look at him. I just want to race cars. But
he had a few less marbles in his mouth this time.
Yeah. What? But, and I love that even the movie is shot in like a 1:33:1, so it's taller than it is wide. So it's made to be,
which I didn't expect. I thought that was good. Good for the film.
Yeah, it's actually made. I looked into it. It's made to look like it's like a painting the whole time. So like you're peering into it too. So it's the cinematography itself is just fucking chef's kiss. So it's just I love the two characters, and it I don't know about you guys, but it seemed like at first like Jacob is trying to ditch Oliver near the end of school, and but then the story gets him back in, and he feels bad about it. And I think that's why he takes Oliver under his wing. But then that's truly like the downfall of the family at that point, him bringing Oliver into that situation. So there's a lot to like. You could talk about so much things in this movie, in my opinion. So
yeah, I mean, I totally agree with what you're saying here in regards to the relationships, because you really feel like, and I think to what Mikey was saying, like the narration helps to deceive you on what's really happening, because it's really an untrusted narrator, right? Like you're watching this film and you're thinking that you're trying to believe that there's like a relationship or there's a status thing, and he's just trying to build towards something.
What is the thing he says right above? He says something about like he loved Felix, but he wasn't in love with Felix, or was he actually?
Right.
So, and then everything's told from his perspective. So truthfully, all the things that are strange, that knowing him, like I don't even know, did it even happen? I don't know.
Yeah,
he's unreliable narrator, which is great.
Yep.
Yeah, so you're going into it the whole time, and as you are actually seeing what's being unfolded, instead of just hearing what he's telling you, you're getting a different perspective from your point of view and saying, well, actually, maybe this guy's crazy, and whatever he's saying, he's just trying to make himself believe it, even though it's not necessarily what we're seeing happening on screen. So it is a very interesting way to kind of portray that, on top of just the complexity of the characters, of having to do the contrast of what he's telling you versus what you're seeing.
No, definitely. I agree.
Yeah.
Also, you said your point of view as well, and I did notice that a lot of the scenes, they would you'd be in the scene with the characters, and then they would pull you back a little bit, and you'd see it from like another angle, like you're in a window looking at them, kind of thing. So they kind of gave you another point of view to look at the scene from, to kind of give you different
directly relates, Mikey, to like the aspect ratio. Emerald Fennel was talking about like how, because of that aspect ratio, is pretty unique. It's almost like you're peering into what's
Yeah.
going on. So the whole time, like you like Oliver, like Marco said, and jokingly, Oliver, Oliver's a creep. He's like,
It's another
like,
Friday
staring at
night for
people.
James.
Yeah, like Oliver. There's like Mikey, like you're talking. There's scene like Oliver smoking a cigarette, peering into the window, but just like Oliver, we're also like peering into like what's going on with the action itself.
Right.
So
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, exactly.
I think there's a lot more that we want to talk about and highlight in some of the scenes. So I think we should look into going to spoilers. But before we do that, let's just give our star ratings and just highlight if we recommend the film or not. I'll start with you, Mikey. How many stars did you give this movie?
So I give this 4 stars. I liked the movie a lot. I thought it was really well acted. I liked the revealing of the characters as they were going through, or the main character, I should say. Most of the stuff's through him. But yeah, it was a really weird movie. I didn't know what to expect. Blew my expectations away in terms of like how weird it got, but I enjoyed every bit of it. I thought it was really good. Also, I did want to mention, I did see something. This is coming out on December 22nd on Prime. So you don't have to watch it in your movie theaters. You got 15 days or so, and you can watch it.
And it'll come out there, yeah.
But it was a good. I think it's a good.
It was a good experience.
To tell you the truth, so
definitely, yeah.
But it is a Prime MGM, so MGM is owned by Prime, so that's why it's being on there.
Yeah. Marco, how many stars did you give this film?
I also give this movie 4 stars. I think it's well acted. It's well directed. James hit the nail on the head with the cinematography. It's shot so well. The aspect ratio, I think, adds to it and gives it its style. And yeah, like Mikey said, even though it's coming out on Prime, try to watch this in theaters if you can, because it's. I think it's a way better experience if you do watch it in theaters.
And James, how about you?
I give this one a 4.5, guys. This is going to be in my top 10 for sure. There's a spoiler there.
Mm-hmm.
So this movie resonated with me on a couple levels, not just the creepy ones, Marco, but
not just the ending.
Yeah, I really appreciate when a film like this is made, and it can be, I know it's based on a book, but it's still a pretty original idea compared to a lot of the garbage we get.
And I gave this film 4 stars. As I also recommend the film, and I think one of the things that everybody's hitting on in regards to watching in the theaters is that, at least for me, it made me feel very uncomfortable, but in a way that was like worth experiencing in a theater.
Because I was watching a crowd, by the way, Nabil.
Yeah, they were pretty interactive with it too, which is I liked about.
Ours wasn't bad. Me and Mikey's. I mean, I think we all at the gross out scenes, everybody was like, "Ooh,"
exactly.
Oh shit.
There's some weird stuff happening, and you're like, I don't know if I should be watching this, but at the same time, you're like, but I gotta see
Then as it was happening, it was fingers from my popcorn. I was like, man, this is weird.
Dead quiet in my theater. I saw it with a friend of the pod, Sonny, and it was dead quiet up until I started giggling at some of these fucking scenes, and some other people then started joining in. I'm like, I'm not alone. People feel just as uncomfortable as me right now.
Yeah, I think that really added to that experience. So that's definitely ups the enjoyment factor of the film. So with that, we're going to jump into the spoiler section. And if you haven't seen it yet, I would definitely skip that section. So that way you get just as surprised as we did by some of the scenes. Otherwise, stick with us in just a second and we'll go into about the film here in the spoiler section. Let's talk about Oliver. And so we beat it around the bush a bit about him being not what it seemed. I mean, essentially, he had this whole planned out to begin with, and he had a mark, and he went for it. And like Marco kind of said, he was well adapted. So when things weren't going south, he found a way to pivot his way back into good graces to get what he wanted. Let me just go with you. James, what are your thoughts on that? On the true
I thought it was
intentions
beautiful, man. Fucking beautiful. This guy fucking
nailed it
with the plan. He kind of got found out when Felix was like, "Hey, let's bring you to your parents," and his fucking parents are fucking alive.
Yeah.
And he lives like in a nice house and shit. And it was like, dude, right there, that's when things start really unraveling, right? At that scene where he's like adamant about not going, and he's like, well, where are we going? And it's like, oh shit, this dude's been lying the whole time. Which I think we all kind of, especially through his actions and interactions with the other siblings and cousin, like he's obviously not like very trustworthy. He lies a lot and he's very manipulative, but then they do show you, I'm assuming that's the scene you don't like, Marco, when they kind of go back and show you like, I was the plan behind everyone, and like fucking starting with even the tire. I didn't realize he would do the tire
that far back. Yeah,
I was like, damn, he's been playing, as Marco would call it, the long game. So especially because I think it's implied that when he runs back into Lady Elspeth, like it's during COVID because people were wearing masks, right? So it's like 14 years later. So like, I'm like, he played the super fucking long game. So I thought it was great, man. And truthfully, when they switch to that shot of showing that it's her in the bed, like poisoned or some shit, that was fucking creepy, dude.
Yeah, that was.
It's
that
a
was
sudden
wild.
shot. It's just fucking like boom, and it shows her with a fucking tube down her throat, and you're like, whoa, what the fuck, dude? I was like, whoa, no way. So shit was wild.
I'm assuming she must have caught like the COVID or something like that, and that's what
that or I mean, I'm assuming Oliver did some shit to her, man. I mean, he's fucking
maybe,
killed
yeah,
pretty much
poisoned
everybody
her.
off in that fucking family, right?
Yeah,
literally.
Well, and to that point, you know, and I will say it was interesting to see the father, Sir James Catton, being kind of in the know without actually saying anything, saying that things are not happening and this is not good for my wife. And
he knew. He was like
he knew it without saying anything. That
He's like, Oliver knew.
So
or is that just how he handles everything, right? He probably just pays
true.
off everybody, right? So he might
true.
not even have known what was going on. He just knew that this person needed to leave the house and he had money. So he's like, hey, how much? You know,
right, no,
so maybe he didn't know anything at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
Well,
you're right.
Yeah.
Actually, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, that's probably
true.
the only way they know how to do things, right? This family
Just pay him off because everybody who comes there probably always wants something from them.
Didn't
right?
they pay off Pamela, and then she actually dies off screen, which I thought was fucking hilarious.
She did.
She died.
Killed herself, I think.
Oh shit,
she did. She killed herself.
Crazy.
Yeah,
fucking crazy.
and she.
Always
What did
looking
she
for
say?
attention.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and she's like, yeah, always. She's like that one. I have to keep an eye on her. And I was like,
let me go to you, Marco. So what were your thoughts on the film's ending, or even if you want to go into some detail about some of the scenes that we were talking about earlier that stood out to you and the motivations behind that they showed?
Well, definitely when he's, when he's performing oral sex on Venetia and she's on her period, all right? And they fully show it. It's pretty fucking shocking. I was like, holy shit. But as far as the twist ending goes, Oliver's he's a sociopath. He's a complete and utter sociopath. And the utter secondhand embarrassment that you feel as Felix is driving him to his house and it's all discovered, like it was
weird, right? Yeah.
It was handled. Emerald Fennell did a great job at making you feel embarrassed along with him. Like it was just like, holy shit, this is uncomfortable.
Yeah, can I ask you something, Marco? If Felix had accepted him, though, would he have still gone down that path, though?
I think he was always going to go down that path because they give he's at his home, when Oliver's at his home, his mom talks about how he always wanted to be an only child. He never really talked to his sisters or to anybody. He had trouble making friends, so he's antisocial from the get-go. So he was always that. And to me, it wasn't so much as he was in love with Felix as he was obsessed with him, but also he was hunting them one by one. Like at the end, after he's done his naked dance down the freaking hallway, down every room, those are his
rocks.
trophies.
I was like,
those are his trophies. Like
but here's the thing.
He even dug one out of the pond just to have the collection there, and it's one of those things. But it's one of those things where you're hunting or you're after the thing you want, but you're also kind of sad that the hunt is over. And it's weird because for Oliver being, to me, and the way I interpreted him being a sociopath is it's like an act of passion too. It's like, because for some serial killers, it's a sexualized act too. Even if there's no sex act involved, like the act of them killing that person is an act of passion for them. And it just was revealed so fucking well that I was like, God damn, they pulled it off so well. The only thing that I had a problem with is what James pointed out, is them showing the montage of him going all the way back to the bicycle bike and deflating the air to get Felix's attention and let him use his bike, et cetera, et cetera. They didn't really need to do that. I think this movie is truly a 4.5 star, but for me, that removed half a star for me, because it feels like the whole time it's not holding your hand up until that point. And I get it for some people.
I think it's for the reveal, though. They had to.
Yeah, it would have added shock value. But I think that just knowing that this was his plan in all, and leaving it up to us and saying, "Fuck, was it all an act? Was this his plan the whole time, or when was it that he had to do that?"
Yeah.
So,
but I get it wanted to take a little bit. Definitely was him.
It wanted to take a little bit of the safe route, and I get it. And it's still like kind of an aha moment where you're like, holy shit, the whole fucking time. And I do think that in the end, when he is with is it Lady Elspeth? Is she the mom? Yeah. When he's with her, I think he used the same poison he used on Felix on her, pretty much.
I assume that too, yeah.
At first, I thought he was going to like take the place of Sir James Catton, and like I was like, holy shit.
Oh, he's gonna go with the mom? You're like,
to inherit everything, because he marries her, everything goes to him, and then he kills her. But it turns out he didn't even need to do that. He just needed to swindle her.
I don't think he actually poisoned Felix. I think he put cocaine in it and he did an overdose.
Oh yeah, he was. You're right.
So that way he didn't get caught, right? So
he blamed it on the cousin. Then he blamed it on the cousin. He didn't
technically kill anybody, like, at least as far as anybody could tell.
Actually, you're right, because then even Venetia, he just left the fucking blades there and like, do what you gotta do.
I mean, he did, but he made it look like it wasn't.
He staged it well, yeah.
Technically, yes. But I gotta say, then, what's with the scene of him, like, he's literally fucking the grave of Felix at the end? Is it just like, there's gotta be some kind of passion between that, right?
I think some of the words he's saying, like you had mentioned earlier about saying he loves him, but he's not in love with him. I think there was some kind of feeling that he did have for Felix, more so than he wanted to admit. Yeah. So there's a bit of obsession, there's a bit of lust there. And, in his own way, he's doing weird stuff and essentially raping the floor of his grave. But I think he had some actual feelings for Felix in some way.
He's psychotic, though, that I think it's both that he misses Felix, but he's also disrespecting his grave at the same time. You know what I mean? It's kind of like both. That's kind of how I saw it.
I didn't feel like he was desecrating it like on purpose.
I felt like it was like a almost like a regretful kind of thing, and it
the way. See, at first I thought that, right, that he wasn't desecrating it, but what changed my opinion was the dance at the end. He was celebrating at the end.
But that's 14 years later.
Yeah. Still
I think
though.
It's him just like, hey, I got them all. I got all the money. And this is the life I always wanted, and I got it. And then they literally playing murder on the dance floor. So, I mean.
Yeah.
It's a double. It's very much like The Killer, where the songs are a little bit too heavy-handed with it, but I get it. So,
yeah. Mikey, is there anything you wanted to add as far as your thoughts on this film's ending or some of Oliver's choices and decisions he's made in this film?
Yeah, I just want to kind of go back to what James asked Marco, because I honestly don't think Oliver planned out all the killing. I think he's kind of addicted to what he's doing, right? He wanted to be part of the clique and kind of be part of Felix's, like, kind of their kind of friend group, right? So he got that. And then he's like, okay, I like this. Now I want to go a little bit further. So he devised a plan to go to his house over the summer, because, the whole family talks about he does this all the time with people. Like he's done it like many times before. He's had people coming over for the summer. So he, I don't know how he knows that kind of information, but he kind of plans to get into there. We know that because he said his dad died and kind of did that whole thing to keep him there, right? Then he's there, and Felix is losing interest in him. So he finds ways to keep him, like with his sister and with the cousin.
The cousin, yeah.
He keeps them, and now he's like building more stuff up. The cousin sees what he's doing with the sister, tells Felix about it, And so he uses that to kind of get back together with Felix again. And so I think he's just kind of addicted to the whole situation. And every time he gets a twist, he kind of converts his whole mental to whatever he needs to do to stay at that house. And he eventually kind of gets, just like an addiction does, you kind of get too far, and you start killing the whole family in this case. So
yeah, I mean,
you think
I
he was
don't
kind of adapting to the situation as it went, and it was just evolving, basically.
Yeah,
That's
I think
an
it was
interesting
evolving.
point.
Absolutely.
No,
That's
like I said,
interesting.
this movie has so many ways to look at it, dude. So it's like
Yeah.
he's like, man, Oliver just really liked the montage of MGMT songs playing, and he wanted that to happen every
Basically.
summer. So he's
So,
like,
I
I
mean,
like that shit.
the reason I think he planned it from the start is when I think it was Phoenicia points out that he's very observant and that he's always observing things and just kind of chilling in the background and watching
Yeah,
people
she
and
even
stuff.
tells him like, "You're really smart." Remember, she's like, "You're smarter
Yeah.
than the last guy." And I was like, "Oh,
Yeah,
shit."
exactly. And so that it's also a notion. It's also a characteristic of a classic sociopath too.
And also Farley calls him out on some shit too, right? It's like, hey, I know what you're doing.
Yep.
Oh yeah, no, definitely.
So yeah, so I mean,
Because
he
he's
gets
doing
all
the
that
same
stuff.
shit. He's doing the
Yeah.
same shit.
Yeah, basically.
He even
did
fucking
in
makes
Gran
fun of him during that
Turismo.
karaoke, right? And then, truthfully, I think Duncan, the fucking main butler, sees through him like from the get go.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, as soon as he
he
enters the
does.
house, right? Basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's a dick to him the entire time. So yeah,
I wonder if he kept his job.
probably not. It's been 14 years. He probably definitely go.
Well, they show all the maids and stuff outside, right?
Yeah.
When they're leaving.
before the last scene. Yeah.
Mhm.
Not in the very last scene though. The last scene, it seems like the place
Yeah.
is empty as fuck.
Yeah. They might have all left at that point. Or he got fired him.
Let's move on now to our review of Godzilla Minus One.
こりゃなんだって言うんだ。我々しかこの国の未来を切り開くことはできないんです。
あの怪物の生態は未知のことが多すぎて。
So Godzilla Minus One is sitting at a 98% on Rotten Tomatoes. The IMDb description is post-war Japan is at its lowest point when a new crisis emerges in the form of a giant monster baptized in the horrific power of the atomic bomb. This is written and directed by Takashi Yamazaki, who also did Dragon Quest Your Story in 2019 and Lupin III, the first in 2019 as well. This was released on November 3rd, 2023 in Japan, and November 29th, 2023 in USA for a very brief theatrical release. It's about to end actually on the 7th. So if you haven't seen it yet, go out and go see it. This stars Ryunosuke Kamiki as Koichi Shikishima, who is a former kamikaze pilot, Minami Hamabe as Nariko Oishi as Shikima's partner, Yuki Yamada as Shiro Mizushima, who is a trainee on board the ship Shinsei Maru, Munetaka Aoki as Sasaku Tachibana, who is a former Navy Air Service worker, Hidetaka Yoshioka as Kenji Noda, former weapon engineer, Sakura Ando as Sumiko Ota, as that's Shikishima's neighbor, who knew his family. Kurinosuke Sasaki as Yoji Akitsu is the Senshu Maru's captain. And Mio Tanaka as Tatsuo Hata. Sorry, he is the naval commander on board the big naval ship at the end. So,
can we give everybody just give James a round of applause for pronouncing those names?
Yeah,
on point. I was waiting for him to crash and burn. But good job, James. Good job.
I could see the face of relief on Nabil as you were reading those names. Like he was
actually
wiping
got close
sweat.
to the camera too. I could tell he was like, "Go ahead, you son of a bitch! You normally give me these ones." I was like, "Whoa, buddy, relax." Let's start with you, Nabil. What's your history with the Godzilla franchise? So, like, have you? I know we reviewed Godzilla vs. Kong. I want to. Did we do a marathon out of that? We might have.
We did. Yeah,
I'm assuming.
Or at
So
least
we've
we
also
did a catch up.
Sure.
Yeah, we've at least seen all the newest ones since the 2014 reboot of Godzilla. But have you seen any of the Japanese films? Have any history with them at all?
I watched some of the Toho ones from, I couldn't tell you which ones. I've seen just miscellaneous ones. I know I saw the Mecha Godzilla one. I did see the 2016 one that came out. I can't remember the exact name.
Shin Godzilla?
Yeah. Shin Godzilla.
Apparently,
that's like a reboot one too.
Yeah.
That's its own separate thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and this one kind of feels like its own thing too. But yeah, I saw that one and I liked Shin Godzilla. That was actually pretty enjoyable for what came out in 2016. So, but I've seen bits and pieces of the franchise outside of the US-based ones from Toho from a long time ago. So I've got some familiarity with the general plot of this crazy monster.
Nice. What about you, Mikey? Any history with the Godzilla franchise?
Well, I've seen all the Hollywood ones, of course. They had a series of they had a series of animes like 5 or 6 years ago. I watched those 3. I think there was 3
on
of them.
Netflix, right?
Yeah. And then I went with James to see Shin Godzilla, I'm pretty sure. And then I've seen the first 15, the Showa series. Like they were
Showa
all the Showa era one. I've seen all those, but it's been a very long time, so I don't remember most of them. But and then bits and pieces of YouTube content of the other ones, like the good battle scenes and stuff. So
nice. What about you, Marco?
Mine is similar to Nabil's. I've seen some of the classic Godzilla movies as a kid. I can't tell you which ones. I just they'd be on TV and I'd watch them and I'd find them entertaining. I've seen the original movie once a long time ago and enjoyed
Did you
it.
watch the Japanese version or the American version? There's 2 types.
The American version. Yeah. I'm very cultured, but I want to go back and watch it.
Story, by the way. Yeah, just let you know.
That's what I heard. That's what I heard. That's why I want to go back and watch the Japanese version, and which I believe got a 4K release as well, not too long ago.
Not a 4K release, but it got all the Showa era ones have been remastered by Criterion. So
yeah, and obviously I've seen the American ones, like the 98 one. There was actually a Japanese one that came out called Godzilla 2000 that I saw in theaters too, which is terribly fun. Yeah. Yeah. See, obviously I've seen all the new ones coming up that started back in 2014, so I'm all caught up with those. And that's nice. I haven't seen any of the cartoons or Shin Godzilla, but I do want to see Shin Godzilla because I've heard good things about it. But that's my experience.
Yeah. The Shin Godzilla movie is really good, and then Mikey and I even went further and watched fucking what was it, Shin Ultraman, and then Prime did have Shin Master Rider as well. They're not connected, but they're all kind of this like darker reboots of older franchises from Toho's history. So it's pretty cool. Yeah, I've actually only seen the original first film in Japanese because I heard the American version they add weird like news flashes and shit, which makes no sense to this movie at all.
Yeah.
I actually haven't seen any of the other Japanese ones randomly. Like you guys said, I've seen probably little bits and pieces that were playing on like TNT or some bullshit, and we're or like the funny GIFs. And a bunch of those, but I mean, I've only seen the American ones for the most part, and then I did see like Shin Godzilla. I didn't like Shin Godzilla though. I think Shin Godzilla's fucking pacing has a huge pacing issue in my opinion.
Like, a lot of them have that actually.
Dude, they're going back and forth between fucking like board meetings and shit at one point. I'm like,
wasn't that the point of it? Was the board meetings
like
that was the whole bureaucracy thing message?
Not this one. So
no, not this one.
Well, actually, technically, they do have a little PTA meeting, right? But yeah, so I've always enjoyed it though. I actually really do like the Godzilla films. I one day I'm gonna work my way through all of them, which is just gonna probably kill me. So
35 Japanese ones, I think, right?
Yeah, probably I can do that. So one day, and that and probably
let me know. I'll join you.
Marco's like, let's do it.
We'll go down this dark cave together.
So yeah, it's one of those things where I know it's it's culturally iconic. It's been around for fucking since the 50s at this point. So it's hey, this is crazy. There's a lot of stuff going on in Godzilla, and I like I know some people don't like the Hollywoodized versions as much, but fuck, they're fun, dude. So I like me just seeing
the new one looks amazing, by the way.
Oh yeah, they're just running and shit. People are like, "Why are they running?" I'm like, "Cause they're fucking excited."
And actually, the show's pretty good too, Monarch.
Yeah, Monarch's really great right now. I'm all caught up on Monarch too, so that's a nice little set in that universe. And then actually, if we're talking about cartoons real quick, I remember the 98 version had a cartoon and I watched that back in the day.
It did,
on
yes.
Fox Kids, right? So, where Godzilla
I
was
watched
teaming
that.
up with the fucking people, right? And he was like, I'll help you guys. Let's go.
Godzilla
Didn't make
talks in
any
it too. No, I'm just kidding.
No.
No, he's just quiet. He looks like a fucking lizard. He's like, hey.
He does.
Let's get
Mutant
into this
T-Rex.
movie though. Let's figure out if we liked it or not. Mikey, I'm gonna start with you since we saw this together too as well. Did you like Godzilla Minus One? Did you not like it?
I love this one actually, and it's
Love
mainly
it, huh?
because of stuff we just talked about. Like this one doesn't have like the whole government kind of side of things like the other ones that I've seen, and so it kind of flowed better. I thought they do have kind of the same kind of feel in some of the scenes, but it kind of fit better in this one. I liked what they did with Godzilla, and from what I hear, this is a $15 million budget. I don't know how they did some of the stuff they did with that budget. But yeah, I love this one. I thought it was really good.
That's great. What about you, Marco? What'd you think of Godzilla Minus One?
I'm there with Mikey. I absolutely love this movie. I think this is hands down the best Godzilla movie I've ever seen. And it's everything that Mikey said. It's, it looks good. It's, the pacing's great. The fact that they really humanize the characters in this as opposed to other Godzilla movies where they're just cannon fodder or they try to make you care about them, but it's just like, I don't care, you die. Like this movie really makes you invested into the human characters. And even though Godzilla's screen time is limited in this movie, it still works. And when he's on screen, it's very prominent and it's very well worth the wait. Just like Mikey said, this movie puts a lot of big blockbuster movies to shame as far as graphics go. Like $15 million and you come up with this, which some of the shots were kind of shady, but
So you can
compared
tell,
to compared to a $200 million, $250 million comic book movie or action film that just, I don't know where the fuck their visual effects budget went, but it's not this. So yeah, this movie's fucking fantastic.
Yeah, nice. What about you, Nubo?
Yeah, I agree. I enjoyed the film. I thought Godzilla himself was just a really good, essentially, villain in this movie, and terrifying in every part of it. Like when he came up on screen, it was the most exciting part of the movies. But the character story was very interesting too. Like I actually did care about what was going on. I know we'll talk about a little bit in spoiler. I think the ending ended a little too nicely in one part of it specifically, but for the most part, like it was a really good story to go through, and there is still, just like all the other Godzilla films, there is still some kind of political messaging here about the government not wanting to help out because of whatever, and it's on the citizens to do what they need. Like, and I like that. That's what I actually liked about all the other Godzilla Japanese films is the government thing, just because there's a bigger message. I know you don't agree necessarily, James, but that's what always kind of got me intrigued on the story part of it, is that it's speaking about how shitty their government can be.
Truthfully, I can't compare it to other ones because I've only seen such a small sample. So I mean, who knows?
I mean, I'm not saying they're always the well produced version of getting that message out, but there's always that overarching thing about nuclear war and World War II
especially
and whatever it is.
Especially the first one, which this one obviously takes a lot of like style from it, themes from it as well. It's got a lot of odes to it, and because this is in all honesty, this is pretty much a reboot of the original Japanese film. So. Yeah. That's good. Yeah, I liked it too. I thought it was really fun. I thought it was a solid one. I think they, as much as people shit on like the Hollywoodized versions, I think they, from Legendary, I think they take some of that aspect of it for this Godzilla. So they finally, they show a lot of the action scenes are like really kind of amped up compared to Shin Godzilla, where it was like, what the fuck's going on? This one I actually could follow along. So that's why, and I liked it. I liked Shikishima and like his journey of, like a failed kamikaze pilot. And then he doesn't feel like he can have a family. And then it's like the relationship with him and Noriko, where they're trying to kind of, it's like he falls into a family, which is kind of weird. Like, and not just that, then he gains friends and he sees like the benefits of what life can really bring. And then fucking Godzilla shows up and just start fucking blowing shit up. So he's like, hey, wouldn't it be weird if a big old lizard creature got to you? So let's get to the plot then. So I want to talk to you about the plot. Nabil, let's stick with you on this one. So, what did you feel about the overall plot and following? Well, I mean, we follow a few characters, but I would say Shikishima is technically the main character, even though we do get a little bit of everyone. I think in this one, which is, from what I've heard, is pretty common for Godzilla films. There's different groups going on at the same time, but he's mostly where we're coming from. We get him from the beginning where he's attacked on an island, and it kind of starts the whole starts the whole thing with him and the what's his name, with Tachibana, the mechanic there, and then they kind of hate each other, but and apparently Tachibana's only fucking mechanic that can work on an airplane later on. But
right,
yeah, he's like, I know
there weren't many
of
them left. Apparently,
I'm gonna be like, I know like 40 fucking guys. How about that? But like, how did you like his journey overall from the beginning, and then all the way to the end, where he's basically, he has a plan. We'll talk about it in a little bit, but what did you think overall?
Yeah, what I really liked about the plot was it was kind of believable in the sense of, after, first of all, he's a war veteran who, is just like in a lot of things in Japanese culture, like he was kind of dishonored himself for not following through with the war effort that his job was in there. But then like the whole, like you were saying, the falling into the family, I felt like that was very believable with the whole country kind of in disarray and the way that things ended for Japan during World War II. It seems very, very probable that they would find a child, or they would end up they'd be kind of caring for other people like this in a way until
they find a kid that's not even. I mean, technically, Noriko's taking care of a kid that's not hers. So it's like,
yeah. So I find that a lot of that was very true, and I like the aspect of him trying to find work and what he had to do, and like everything just seemed like very realistic. And then obviously you have this big lizard thing in the background where it's like also destroying the world. And you throw that in.
Atomic kaiju monster is just coming around like, hey, wouldn't this be a fucking thorn in your side?
But I actually really I felt like there was a good connection there. Everybody's role kind of felt very believable in how they would react to a situation. Like that's what I think is really good about this movie, because as much as you like seeing the Godzilla and the monster aspect of it, the story really did kind of keep wanting you to see where these characters' roles are going to be playing out to, and it kept it enjoyable.
I agree. Marco, what do you think about the overall journey? Did it work for you? Did it not work? Did anything really stand out to you? Any scenes in particular?
I think it did. The movie had a lot to say with the story of Kochi and his journey from starting off as a kamikaze pilot to, like you guys said, starting his own family with strangers, pretty much. And it basically it shows this guy who's been traumatized from war coming home and pretty much like the human spirit, finding the human spirit and coming together, with strangers and finding unity amongst each other after all this destruction, all this death. And Godzilla, of course, being a freaking monster out there, really representing this huge fucking obstacle that all these people must come together and face together, by, having camaraderie and holding each other up. Just the very notion of Kochi and Noriko like starting this pseudo family, with a child that isn't even theirs, I think is an inspirational story that even when you lose everything, you can, still find, the light at the end of the tunnel and move on. And I think what makes it work is the fact that, like Nabil said, Godzilla is a villain in this. He's not an anti-hero. He's not a, like the legendary films where a hero, so to speak. He is this unstoppable, menacing force that people have to stand up against, and come together and use the love of their own humanity and their family to overcome these huge obstacles. And for Kochi, it's nice to see him deal with this and at the same time deal with his trauma and overcome it with what he has to go through, having to care for his, stepdaughter, for Noriko, and also, caring for his friends too, his crewmates and stuff. And, trying to make sure that, they stay alive as much as possible. So at first he starts off as this kind of coward who doesn't, quote unquote perform his duty, and because of that the consequences are people die, and now he's trying to survive that and find purpose in life to go on, and that helps them, eventually overcome his trauma and find love again, because it just kind of seemed throughout the movie he had just sort of given up pretty much. And I like that. Definitely. I like that it wasn't easy. You see this guy struggle throughout the movie, and it humanizes him even more, and I like that. It's not easy, but with time you can get through it.
Nice. Mikey, I want to jump into characters with you then too. I mean, we've talked about Kochi, Shikishima, and what about the people that he befriends on the boat where he's shooting down mines and stuff like that? We got Yoji, who's the captain, and then we have Kenji, who's like the weapon engineer. What did you think of the dynamic between the? There's another guy too, even a younger guy that's felt left
Never
out.
been to war.
To find the war, yeah. How'd you like that kind of camaraderie between the four of them?
Yeah, I mean, they already touched on like his struggle to find work afterwards and everything. So that kind of throws him into this situation where, I mean, it's pretty much a job that no one wants to take. It's really risky.
Yep.
And you can kind of see like between the four of them, the team that they have on there, it kind of builds over time. It's not only friendship, but also like their minds are kind of like in different areas, right? So like one guy's like really smart, their guy like knows the waters, and then he's a gunner, even though he didn't really fulfill his job. Yeah. So, but they kind of need that to do the bomb. They're doing like a bomb disposal kind of thing, and like between the four of them, they kind of come together as like a single force. And even though they're only just a small crew on a small boat, they can do big things, and they kind of take that over there. And then it kind of progresses too. Also, obviously, like you guys have kind of touched that already here. But Kochi is going through like some super internal struggles, and I don't think the people on the boat kind of realize that. So you can kind of see whether they're like drinking beers or like coming home for like a dinner or something like that, and they can kind of really see like they didn't realize this is all going to happen. They think he's just a married life with a kid, and they realize that he's got some kind of internal struggle holding him back a little bit. And then things unfold.
They're shocked he's not married. They're like,
they're. And then with Godzilla, they're like, oh, you kind of know this, right? So he kind of like, I don't know. I don't want to say becomes a leader, because I think there's other people on the boat that kind of do that role a little bit, but he kind of inspires them, I guess, and becomes like kind of a force, I guess, himself. So I like the aspect that they kind of brought through on the team.
Nice. Nabil, what about his relationship with Noriko? Did you enjoy how it's kind of like it's almost kind of platonic at the beginning, and then like obviously there's little hints and such like that.
I thought it was weird at first, not because of the strangeness of it. I think after like a year or so, though, I thought that they may have made a connection. But to Mikey's point, when they start talking amongst friends and he finds out that they're not actually married, and we learn about the reason behind it, I was like, I think it's interesting because his thought is that because he had this 22 caliber gun that he thought if he just shot, it would have saved a bunch of people, would have made all the difference. And in reality, like nothing he could have done would have actually made the difference. So he was like sitting with that, and I thought that was a bit like funny, sitting with that problem that if he really thought about it was really nothing, because he couldn't. What would he have done? Like that's not going to save them.
Damn.
I mean, really though, like nothing was gonna. He saw these tankers like trying to shoot at it, and nothing happened to Godzilla. So I'm like, why are you sitting on this? But at the same time,
like, should have performed seppuku, the traditional.
Yeah, if he's gonna do it, you dishonored yourself, my friend. There's a sailor right over here. Take care of it.
Well, that's part of it, though, right? Like the whole dishonor, like disgrace. His job was a kamikaze pilot, so it's like you're not supposed to be around anymore.
I mean, his neighbor
is the weighing on it as well.
His neighbor Sumiko, when he comes back, is like ashamed of him, like, oh, because of you is why we lost. But then, I mean, she obviously warms up because he came right after her house got bombed to shit, and tempers are at all time high. But it's like, holy shit, so
yeah. But I think like the relationship did give us some time to kind of blossom a little bit, especially kind of before she disappears for a little bit, apparently off screen. That she, they have a bit of a growth connection together, and she kind of consoles him. And I think that was really nice, like to show that, hey, we've been together for so long. We have a bond if you just open up to me. And that really felt like a good moment of letting the relationship kind of blossom a bit in there. And so I think it was good, especially the way it essentially turned out near the end.
Nice. I'm going to leave this open floor question here, guys. Sitting talking visual effects, I know we kind of touched on it already. Did you guys like how this movie was shot and the way that Godzilla looks in this one? He's a little more modernized, I'd say. So, what did you guys think?
Absolutely, dude. I like the look of Godzilla. They based it sort of like on the classic look with a bit of a
less
more
goofy. Yeah, a little less goofy.
Yeah, less goofy. He's got the goofy thighs, but not the goofy. He doesn't have the stupid feet in this one.
Goofy ass
eyes. He does have the stupid eyes. Yeah, and they purposely made him like more upright as opposed to more modern ones that have him kind of lean forward.
Hunched a little bit.
So give him sort of that classic menacing look. And it works, man. Like when there's a scene where the boat crew the cleanup crew is sweeping up mines and Godzilla shows up and he's chasing after them and the tension's high, man. His eyes are just dead ass staring right at them and you just see evil behind them. Just looks so well, man. And there's a scene where Kochi is on a plane and he's like doing these flybys around Godzilla that they look so good, man, compared to, again, some movies with bigger budgets shot so well.
Yeah, Marvel films. All right, Nabil, what did you thought about the -1 title? By the way, I want to bring that up. It's like they were trying to say like it's after the war, Japan's economic state has been reduced to zero. Godzilla appears and plunges the country into a negative state. Did you like how that is? Yeah. How it's titled?
I thought it was weird at first. It took me a while to figure it out, and then I had read something that told me this quote basically. Yeah, I guess it makes sense, and we're making fun of it as we're talking about like them recovering from the war and just giant lizards here. But yeah,
it's
this is
worse.
adding
like,
more.
What else could go wrong, right? Yeah,
exactly. They're at the bottom, and then they found a way to get even below that, and that's what Godzilla is doing there. So I think it's an apt title for it, and in this case too, like. We're talking about Godzilla being a bad guy. In the very first like Godzilla film back in the 50s, Godzilla was a bad guy and he was killed. And
He's
then when
bad guy in quite a few of them, apparently.
Yeah, and then the next film, the next set of series that they do in the the 60s, he's that anti-hero, but it's a different Godzilla. It actually isn't the same one.
Yeah.
So in like this case, I'm assuming they're, like you said, James, they're kind of doing a soft reboot. Ish.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's probably where if they're going to continue on with this thing, that's probably where they're going to
talk about that
too.
in spoilers. Yeah. Nice. Let's get into our star rating so we can jump into our spoiler section. There's just a few things to kind of tidy up on this one. Mikey, what is your rating and would you recommend it?
I actually gave this one 4.5 stars. I liked it a lot. It's definitely a recommend. As long as you just for some reason don't hate subtitles, then you should probably watch this one. And like you said, it's limited release, so go watch it.
Yeah. Speaking of which, Nabil, what is your rating for this one?
Because of the subtitles, I didn't give it a 4.5 stars. No, just kidding. It's I gave this 4 stars out of 5. I enjoyed the film. It's still a little weird, but it's a Godzilla film. But I enjoyed a good portion of it.
This happens to those people every year, Nabil. I don't know why you're acting so rude about it.
Jesus.
What about you, Marco?
Movie's fucking fantastic. With Mikey, I give it 4.5 stars. This one's little spoilers. Definitely going to make it to my top 10 list.
Nice. I give this one a 4-star. I'm kind of with Nabil on this one. I liked it. I didn't love it like you and Mikey, but I think it was a solid Godzilla movie. And if you're a fan of Godzilla, definitely check it out. Let's jump into our spoiler section. So if you want to learn a little bit, and you're just going to talk about kind of the ending here, a little couple things that do happen. So if you don't want to hear that, just jump ahead to our outro and hear about what we are doing for our final episode of the year, actually. So
of the year, not ever.
Yeah. I mean, we said it last year. Someone's like, "Are they done?"
Godzilla!
All right, so spoiler section time. So I'll start with you, Mikey. Did you like Kenji's plan to destroy Godzilla in the most convoluted, fucking complex way possible?
I mean, it was pretty complex.
As Japanese Godzilla as it can get, I think. So,
Yeah, it was very complex. I mean, and it's like very precise too, like how they had to pull it off. Like they had to be in a certain area.
Yeah.
Everybody had to be precise as far as their driving goes.
And it doesn't work.
Yeah. And then it doesn't work at the end.
Very reminiscent. It's actually very reminiscent of what they're trying to do in the original Godzilla film on how to kill him with the water and shit. So that's why I was like, oh, there we go. So
some callbacks there. Also, they had like a backup plan, but I didn't even get their backup plan.
It was to bring him back up hella quick because of you get the what's it called?
Same kind of pressure, but the other side.
The bends, you get the bends, but he's a fucking lizard creature and that doesn't work. So I don't.
But it's kind of nice too. They kind of when the water, the scene that Marco was talking about a moment ago, where he's like chasing the boat. They kind of figure out like they can hurt him on the inside, kind of thing, right? So. They use that to their advantage this time here as like a second alternate plan that they were kind of thinking up. So
yeah,
they worked out pretty well in the end.
Nabil, I want to jump to you here. Let's talk about the end of this film. I mean, I know you don't really catch on a lot of times to very obvious things that happen in films, but I mean, Shikishima, you knew he wasn't going to kill himself, right? When Tachibana is looking at like
I figured
you assumed something was going to happen, or did you think like, man, this is it?
Well, they had brought up that there was already ejector seats being made, and so then they put him to the side, and it's like there's one more thing. I was like, okay. Yeah, I was like, okay, obviously he's gonna survive. Obviously, the tell of the telegram that suddenly showed up told me that
I assumed it was alive. Like what's her because Noriko is I don't know where the fuck she goes. Actually, she might got crushed. She might have fucking flung 400 feet in the air. I'm not sure. She's been gone for fucking weeks at this point too. So. I don't know.
I guess she survived. Coma for the damage. God,
I guess
you guys are so cool. Fun.
Mikey was like, I don't know, man. Seemed like she was okay to me. But what did you think about that last little suicide round? Like, did it emotionally like work for you, or was it something where you want a little more out of that?
I liked it a lot. I think it was good redemption for him. It really was a good solid payoff for he really came in clutch to lure Godzilla. He came in to try to, get under his skin and distract him. While gave the guys enough time to do their failed maneuvers, but also just like then actually like going in. I love the scene where it just went quiet. Like he crashes into Godzilla's mouth, and the whole film is just
two
quiet.
Guys started laughing uncontrollably in front of me and Mikey and crying.
Well, I kind of was thinking of yelling out something in the theater. I was like, because my theater was packed too, and I was like, Konnichiwa or something, just yell something out.
Wow. Dude, St. Louis has changed the bill. I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, but
I could have swore James was going to turn to me and just say, hi. Because that's what he normally does when this shit happens in a movie. So.
Shut up. Shut up, Mikey.
It was definitely quiet where you didn't expect it to just be complete silence, but I thought it was great. It was very impactful, and then it was very satisfying to see Godzilla kind of dissipate that way and finally go. And I'm assuming because to the point we were talking about earlier on how he does get killed from the inside, part of it is because of his atomic ray was just about to go out. That between that and explosion, that's why he disintegrated. Because I don't catch on to things, everything quickly. That's why that happened, rather than it just being another thing where he could have just regenerated later.
Yeah, then it just kind of was like a chain reaction, I think, within his body.
I guess it's chain down.
Right? I'm assuming. That's pretty cool, though.
I mean, but if we saw the special ending, mid-credit scene.
Yeah, speaking of which, Marco, did you expect that to happen? Did you think there was going to be a little fucking twist to it all? Like, oh, he's actually... I don't know if it's really... Is it Godzilla regenerating? Is it another form of his creature? I don't know. Like, what was your thought on that?
I think it's Godzilla regenerating. I sort of suspected. I'm like, it can't be the end of him. He's just super indestructible. I wasn't 100% sure they'd do it, but when I saw the scene of him regenerating, I was like, oh, shit.
Is like a face forming on it, or is it just like the body vibrating? I forgot. Sorry, but...
I feel like it was a body.
I can't really remember either if it was a face or just the body growing, but...
Sorry, Godzilla.
All I know is
too much of me. I'm like,
something with an atomic breath that powerful is not that easy to kill. Which, by the way, it's probably one of the best atomic breaths they've ever done.
Really good
it
one.
Literally goes nuclear.
That was good. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's up there. I think also the Kong vs. Godzilla is a fucking awesome one too, by the way.
Yeah.
We had a
Man,
pretty
the scene where he
spectacular one.
blasts like the whole town and Noriko pushes Kochi out of the way. Even though it's a whatchamacallit, a fake out. It's still pretty cool when she just pushes them out of the way and she just fucking eats it.
Speaking of which, I mean, we do see her at the end, and I don't know if you guys noticed, but like she apparently has like radiation poisoning or some shit. So it's kind
does she really?
It's kind of like a bittersweet ending. So like in the official like synopsis of the thing, like she has radiation poisoning.
Damn.
So it's like I guess it's cool that
But
she
wouldn't he have
survived.
it technically? Because it's not like he's just behind a wall. It's not like
Yeah, but she got blasted by this shit too. I think half her
Yeah.
face is like gone, dude.
Yeah, she took the brunt of it. He was behind like buildings and stuff. So
it was like
movie
that's how
logic.
radiation works, guys. I
it's
think
kind
it
of like
still
a,
seems
it's
true
kind
now.
of a bittersweet ending. And
movie
like,
logic, dude.
I agree with you, Nabil. Though, like it is one of the things where, like, truthfully, I think she should have just stayed dead.
Yeah,
because I don't. That was such like a like. Okay, this is pretty fucking cheesy. But I was like, okay, I guess she.
Kochi needed a happy ending because he had such a sad story.
I mean, he found a family and he fucking was able to. He's gonna go back to his daughter and raise her and fight Godzilla and Kong together. I guess. I don't know.
Internal conflict. He needed a happy one. He needed a happy ending.
He credits
you guys are gonna believe this one.
Mr. Roboto. Don't me arigato, Mr. Roboto. So
there we go. That's it. Yeah.
It's a freaking Hollywood happy ending, but I think he, like Mikey said, he fucking deserved it. He deserved it finally.
I mean, he got to fly the cool fucking experimental plane.
That's true.
Yeah.
With the ejection seat.
But he also destroyed it, so he doesn't get to do it ever again.
Any last minute thoughts or any last thoughts on the film? Anything you want to bring up?
I will just go back to what Marco was touching on a little bit. Just the sheer destruction that they show of the cities, I think were just great. I really like how they portrayed that, especially with, like we were talking about, the $15 million budget. The effects, the way it looked. There was a cheesy part where they cut to these tanks that shot at it, and I started laughing when
directly from like the first movie, I think. By the way.
But it just looked like it was so bad. The CG for that
was a
particular
bad
scene,
CG.
yeah,
it's really blurry in that one. You know that? I'm like, blurry that shit.
It was dusty. It was dusty.
Yeah,
he kicked up air, but like, I mean,
No, they had
$15
$15 million.
Well, yeah, I'll tell you right now, it's because they also don't have any like big name actors that ask for $20-30 million a fucking movie. So
that's true.
Have to pay them a fortune and blow up that budget. No, but I just wanted to reiterate those scenes with Godzilla and kind of causing mayhem and destroying the city. It was really, really well done for compared to any other Hollywood big budget film. Like, I think it was just on par with that. It was good to see.
Yeah, no,
agreed.
It looks really good, especially
destructions on 11.
Right.
Yeah. All right. That's the end of the podcast. Thanks everybody for listening. Marco, tell them how they can reach us.
Listen and follow us on your favorite podcast service. Trust us, we're on all of them. For a quick link to all our socials, visit linktree/moviepalspod. That's linktr.ee/moviepalspod. Thank you, and make sure to smash that subscribe button or atomic breath it as hard as you can so you never miss an episode.
Make sure to also stay tuned for our next episode number 164, the last of the year, where we'll be watching The Boy and the Heron and something else. We'll let you know. It'll be a surprise.
Thank you to Bill. Until next time, this is James.
Marco.
Nabil.
And Mikey.
Have a great one.